Cafecito break. Cafecito. Cafecito break. Cafecito.
Hello, community. This is Rosangel Perez. Welcome to another Cafecito break. Monday mornings with Ruthie and Ra. Today is July 13th, 2020, and today is show 2520. And as promised, I want to chat today about cancel culture, memes, speaking up. I would like to give you an update that I just also shared an interview yesterday with Special Forces Army veteran JP, and we had a conversation about the tragic death of Vanessa Guillen. And to help me have this conversation today is my beautiful friend who is in Texas, standing by, Ruthie Guten. Hello, Ruthie Guten.
Good morning, my darling. How are you?
Oh, I have to say that this has been a very eye-opening week for me.
How so?
In muchos ways. I'd like to start with this quote. This is by George Washington. If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. I have to say that I feel very grateful for all of the people that I am connected to in my life, people such as yourself, all of the people in my life that are so different, right? Magical people from different corners of the world with different perspectives, with different ways of looking at the world, with different ways of practicing their spirituality or their religion or their politics. I don't understand what's happening to the community these days. And I have to say, in full disclosure, that in the last couple of months, I have witnessed stuff about our community and our family members that is horrifying to witness, that is heartbreaking to witness. And with that, I'd like to share something that I wrote because I had a really difficult week, mi gente. And I even did a live on earlier this week on Saturday to talk about this more. And I'm going to continue to speak about this. So here I go. I hashtagged this cancel culture, thought police, and speaking up. These are revealing times. They are revealing who your friends are and revealing where you should part ways. It has revealed to me that moving forward means having the courage to speak up and share my authentic insights unapologetically, no matter how the community responds and how uncomfortable it may make some feel. I will not be intimidated by your screams, your tantrums, your social media stalking, your trolling, your loudness, your demands, or your relationship to me. I am my own person with my own brain. I try my best to be respectful and share fair and balanced perspectives, not only on my social media, but on the podcast that I have been producing about the Great Awakenings for over 8 years. I am not perfect, and neither are you. And guess what? I also have the freedom to share my opinions, to share facts, to share memes and jokes. I have the freedom to be politically incorrect. You also have the freedom not to look at my posts, and you have the freedom to block or unfriend me. Stop throwing rocks at me. I will not be shamed or screamed into silence. Your passive-aggressive tactics won't work either. I will speak the way I speak because it's the way I speak. Suggesting I use your words is just that, your words. It is suggesting that I reduce a bit of myself and who I am authentically in this world to try to fit in for your comfort. This is non-negotiable. I accept you with your flaws and your brilliance. If you find being connected to me is unhealthy for you, feel free to scroll on by. And in the word of the legend P.D. Thomas, punto. That was for part
Beautiful.
A.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
So part of my discovery, Ruthie, is that here we are. We've been doing this show for 8 years, and I'm pretty sure that not many people in the community have actually listened to the show. How do I know that? Well, let's see, just math. I am connected to over 1,700 people on Facebook alone. And in the subscribes, let's just say we only have 18 subscribers on iTunes, right? So one would think, right, and the community might think like, well, why listen to Cafecito Break? Because apparently she has no clout. They're not really getting any information. Like nobody's really listening to them. But are people really listening? Because what has been puzzling to us all of these years is that we get responses and we get emails, maybe not a tremendous amount, but people each week reach out to us in some way, either by saying thank you for speaking up, or I'm glad you brought up that point, or sharing that they are privately going through their version of hell because of whatever way they may think or perceive the world, or maybe the way they want to raise their kids, because nothing is off limits right now. Parents are getting shamed. People who look or a certain way are getting shamed. For heaven's sake, I posted what I originally assumed was a parody article until I started exploring it about street lights being racist. And every single time, see the little person dressed in white to that giving you permission to walk, that's a sign of white supremacy. I remember growing up hearing something from my family members, el que busca encuentra. And we live in these times, it's like when you're looking for something, you're going to seek it. So if I'm seeking spirituality, I might get more of that. And if I'm speaking to support the reasons why I believe in freedom of speech, I'm going to present those to you. If I'm seeking to maybe share why this narrative might not work, there's so much supporting evidence. And this is kind of why it's so difficult to have real discussions with people, because if you're only just seeing one point of view and you're not opening up to other perspectives, you're going to miss that there are a lot of perspectives. So let's move on to the fact that I told you that statistics, right? But you know what's really funny, Ruthie Guten? Because nobody's paying attention to my post. But God forbid I post about Goya.
Okay, let me back up a little bit on a couple of things, okay? First of all, you don't necessarily have to be a subscriber on iTunes to get our podcast. I get people that respond to me to let me know thoughts about the show that I am surprised have even heard the show. And it happens fairly regularly. But I do want to say one of the comments that I get repeatedly is how they enjoy the relationship that you and I have, the camaraderie that we have, and the respect and love that we have for each other. And this is real. This is us. And the authenticity is what gets a lot of people that listen to the show to come back and listen again. So I don't believe in numbers. I don't believe the numbers that are posted either on Facebook or on Twitter or on YouTube or any of those channels, because of the fact that I see in my own case, I get a lot of notifications of new followers on, say, Twitter, but then my numbers remain about the same. Right. So I don't even pay attention to that. I really don't. I know our message is getting out there to the people that really resonate with it. And if they don't, they feel free enough to let us know how they feel. Those are the true conversations we want to have. I had a conversation with somebody this weekend, actually, that has a totally different perspective than I do on a lot of the issues going on. Yet we had a wonderful discussion where we listened to each other's perspectives, and both of us went, aha, on a couple of points. Because you know what? If we get down to the point of respect and listen with compassion, we might just find that most of us are on the same page.
Yeah. And, you know, and what I like to remind people that, like, for example, this authentic friendship that they're tuning in and witnessing is two women that grew up very differently, that have different spiritual backgrounds and a different way that we were raised. And we don't agree on everything.
No, we don't. But we love each other and we take care of each other and we protect each other's feelings by speaking our truth in kindness, with words of kindness. And you mentioned also the cancel culture. I read a post from somebody that basically was very upset because his own children canceled him because of his political beliefs. His own children don't even talk to him because of his political belief. Come on, guys. That's just sad.
It's really sad for many reasons, because, you know, this is what I ask the community all of the time. I'm like, are you mad at Donald Trump, or are you mad about the way the media has portrayed him and has convinced you? This
What's
is
funny?
really, wait a minute. I have no idea we are still on the air because my computer just went dark.
Oh,
but I
my
can still hear
goodness.
you.
I can still hear you, so your computer's still on.
So yes, I don't know. I'm just gonna check the feed, and maybe if Dennis is listening, if he can confirm whether or not we're still on, and I'll keep going. But this is, guys, you're witnessing in real time what actually happens to us on the show. That, you know, sometimes I wonder what's happening behind the message. We get messed with a lot energetically.
Yep.
Okay, it says that we're still on, even though my computer has gone dark, which is the first time ever. But guess what? Thank goodness, community, I have alternate resources. So I'm just going to continue. I pulled up some of the articles on my iPad that I wanted to continue to talk about. And another
And
thing.
I did just get confirmation that yes, we're
Okay.
still on.
Thank you, Gushin. So
Thank you, Gushin.
part of my cancel culture speech came from a couple of places, Ruthie. And this is why I focused on the stats on iTunes, even though I know more people listen to the show than the stats reveal. Because even what's funny is that sometimes, like, I will see the numbers go in reverse. So let's say that somebody listened to the show 20 times, and it's really interesting. There's a number the public sees, and there's the counter number, right? So a lot of times the counter number that I can see behind the scenes is higher. But if I check the next day, that counter number that I can see behind the scenes, that's higher than the one the public sees, goes backwards. So
Interesting.
Yes. So it's very interesting. Like, and I know that there are content creators that are out there that, you know, they have much bigger numbers and much bigger platforms, and they're like, I know that more people are listening, but my subscriber count isn't going up, and neither are like you said, like, it just the followers just sort of just stay the same, but we're getting more feedback, and this is why I'm not stopping. A few minutes before I went live, I was listening to this gentleman who has, you know, a perspective that that I'm agreeing with in relationship to this Goya boycott that I want to talk about, right? But first, I want to sort of get into. He mentioned that his lives were getting messed with, and we've seen that, right? A lot of people have witnessed how all of a sudden, when it seems, even in some of the conversations we have had in the past, and even with some of the interviews, we can see when things cut out. And a lot of times is when something significant was being said. Mm-hmm. But you see, I'm not even going to let the computer wanting to shut me down as an ability to do so. I'm going to try to keep on going. And one thing that I also wanted to speak about, because this irked the crap out of me, is people wanting to correct the way I speak. This is happening a lot in cancel culture. Is specifically happening to, you know, people who want to call out other people. But what we're seeing is that the cancel culture, the outrage mob is starting to eat itself. So even if those who have been pandering, like, I'm going to protect you, they're coming after everyone. Like, and this is what we here on this platform have been seeing, have been speaking up about for many years, that when they come after that group, then they go after that group, right? Because they started with the comedians. They shut a whole bunch of comedians down. And I don't really love comedians all of the time, but they have famously been observers of the way society moves. And in their corner, in maybe in the most vulgar way, they'll get a point across. And this is why political correctness doesn't work for me, because you're trying to force people to speak a certain way according to how it fits comfortable for you. Guess what, mi gente? Rosangel Perez was born by herself, and she shall perish by herself. And as long as I'm in this body with this mouth, I'm going to speak the way I speak, because it's the way I speak. When I post something and you want to assume, because that's what it is, assumptions, that you know exactly what was on my mind, and so either you want to correct, oh hun, maybe you should have said it this way, or no, you're changing me. You're asking me to change an aspect of how I delivered something. I'm not saying that everything I speak or everything I've posted is perfect. I'm not claiming to be perfect. I'm incredibly imperfect. But here's where I'm extremely salty, and I'm not fucking surprised. I just made the show explicit. And I was trying to avoid it too. But this is where I'm really salty, and this is why I started talking about the numbers. So you don't pay attention when I freaking post. Ruthie and I and my sister, whenever we spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours a week understanding things so that we can intelligently present our social commentary on Mondays. And we back so much of what we say. So we're not just talking empty words. Most of you have never seen or heard any of my shows. You don't comment on articles I post. But you went nuts when I posted a meme had nothing to do. I posted a meme. I didn't even caption the meme. I put a little like emoji. I put an emoji and I placed the meme. What were the contents of the meme? Because my freaking computer shut down, I only gonna have to go by memory. So please forgive me, community, in advance if I get this wrong. But from my recollection, there's 3 pictures of the same actor who was used for this meme, and probably unbeknownst to him. And it says, why, when people ask me why I don't wear a mask, and it was 3 reasons, right? Because I like to be healthy, because I like breathing, pure air, and because I don't believe in hoaxes. Now, when I posted that meme, I said, man, if I'm going to get in trouble, it's because they're going to question the hoax. Nobody even went there. That was the funniest part. Nobody even went there. I had people being hysterical. Answer me. How dare you talk? You're telling people that they shouldn't wear masks? No. Did you read the freaking meme? The meme had nothing to do with me directing any of you to do anything, because I will never do that, because you are your own person. You can do whatever you want, how you want to do it. The point has to do with everything that I've been saying, everything that this show stands for, which is freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the right to explore, to be to have free thought, to be a freedom thinker. This is my point. I want to move on to Goya next, but I want to make sure that I pause here for a bit.
I want to respond to this. This is too big. I got to respond. Okay. First of all, another thing I want to point out is that I spend a lot of hours every week after the show posting the links, the source articles for the items that we've discussed. And when we were talking about masks, for example, I post links on the research that's been done on these masks. For example, there is a gentleman by the name of Del Bigtree who hosts a show called The High Wire. On the show, live, he posted a video where he brought his own son into the studio and used an OSHA-approved air quality detector to check the air quality within the area between the mask and the boy's face to show the danger levels of breathing the air underneath the masks. It didn't take longer than a few seconds before the numbers started skyrocketing and the machine started beeping. Do you know what happened to that video? It was censored by YouTube.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
So my advice to anybody that is hesitant about believing any of the studies that have been done on masks, I would suggest that they buy a very cheap, inexpensive oximeter and test their oxygen levels before, during, and after wearing a mask, especially when it's 100 degrees with high humidity. And please share your results. We would love to see your results. And that's an inexpensive way of testing whether or not the masks are affecting your health.
Right. Because that's the other thing. It's like we get so inflamed when someone that maybe the community that has been responding so abrasive are people that care about me. And some of them have felt betrayed because they're like, oh my God, she might possibly be supporting the president, even though I've never stated that publicly. And I had to check some of the community members about it. I'm like, don't make assumptions for me. And this is my point. Like, this is the little ways, community, in which we get trapped because we get stuck quarreling back with each other. Everything here that we're saying to you and presenting is much bigger than me and Ruthie. It's much bigger than you. It's much bigger than anything any of us have experienced. This is so much bigger than politics. It's so much bigger than Trump. And when we get caught up in our emotion, we don't see this very alarming trend that maybe the United States is in a war that we don't understand fully because it's not the way we read. It's not a war in the way that we've read on the books. It's a war that's been happening covertly on so many levels,
For a long time.
And it's creeped up in education. It's creeped up in politics. It's creeped up in our religious structures. Whether or not, all of those places have Pandora's boxes. It's creeped up in entertainment businesses and all of these things. And it hijacks everything that starts out as beautiful and pure. It hijacks the movements that we have loved so much and may have been a part of. I was a part of the Occupy movement that got hijacked. So even though I didn't understand what was going on back then, I understood something energetically. I'm like, the way this felt when I was protesting with the beginning people, it felt very differently when it was starting to wrap up. Why? Because there were people that got in there to co-opt it. But I was just one of the crowd. I wasn't in with the know of any of the leaders of the organization. So I'm telling you from that perspective, I was just a person who just wanted to support the movement. And blindly, many of us were led by people who co-opted the movement and broke up the energy there and twisted it and perverted it. Now, I've spoken about the BLM movement, not the people and not why people went out to protest, but that the fact that this has been co-opted. It was co-opted years ago. We spoke about it last week. And there's documentation people are starting to see, which makes my heart feel good, that maybe they were misled. Because again, look at this, right? If the media would not have presented over and over and over again the death of George Floyd, would we have gone out to the streets to protest? So how come we don't acknowledge that the media here is a driving vehicle, a driving force to our emotionality? They know we're emotional creatures, some more than others, and that we will respond with emotion. Because we also know of all the people who have been killed after, all the children who have gotten caught up, and I don't see any real protest for them. That I don't understand it. So when we sit back and we are like, well, how does this make sense? What makes sense is that there are, as Ruthie says all the time, follow the money. There's big money that is put into these places that to hijack the movement. They also hijack the optics. They hijack everything.
And they don't care about the people that are actually doing their bidding.
Right.
They really don't care. People are out there. Young people are out there. These young people have a heart of gold. They want truth. They want compassion. And the people that are organizing and funding these events don't really care about their well-being. They don't care if these young people go to jail for 10 years for defacing a national monument. They don't care. They don't care. They just don't freaking care.
They don't care. And they don't care. And so right now, you know, look what's happening in so much of the states. You know, some people are reopening and some people are quickly are trying to close, and some people are like, all I keep hearing is how high the COVID cases are. And you see, that's manipulation. They just keep telling you to make you afraid, or look at how high, like everybody's getting COVID, but we don't really pay attention that the death count has significantly lowered.
Yeah. Also, did you hear about the NBC? It's brewing. I see it on Twitter. It's blowing up, where they apparently had this whole series of shows where they were focusing on this person that had COVID. And I mean, they did this whole series on him. And then now it comes out that he didn't really have COVID after all.
Oh my God. Ay, Dios mío.
Honey, it's all about the emotions, which leads me to say one more thing about something that you talked about. Okay, being sensitive to those people that really are in fear. And I believe I sent you, Rosangel, an example from a dear friend of mine, and I love her dearly. And she has some tremendous health challenges. And her entire rant was that if people don't wear masks, that they're being inconsiderate and they're putting other people at risk. And she's felt it because she's had to be in a very vulnerable situation, you know, life-threatening situation. And she admires these nurses and doctors that have to suffer with wearing masks 24/7. And it was very emotional, but it was also very fear-based. So, you know, I step back. I don't even dialogue on this issue because I am so concerned for my friend. I love my friend. And at this point, there's no reason to have a discussion about masks with my friend. I just pray that she's safe and healthy, because we're being fed a lot of lies from a lot of people. And I don't want to be the one to trigger somebody into a state of fear, which causes so many ramifications. I really believe that a dear, dear friend of mine who passed away recently, that it was all triggered by such fear. You know, our emotions are being hijacked. We all need to step back and allow ourselves to analyze things objectively and not respond from emotions. I remember when my kids were little, I would tell them, we can't control what's being thrown at us. We can't control what this world is going to throw up at us. But we can control how we respond.
This has been one of my greatest, most difficult things I'm still learning this. And I think that that's part of why I made that statement and speaking up, because it's like, no, like, you don't understand, community. Like, I'm a very reactionary creature by nature, and I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I have been easily triggered in the past so easily. I'm aware that I got sold on different stories, and for many years, I was carrying around these stories about circumstances and people and whether I could trust females as friends, because all I was seeing was distrust, manipulation, people wanting to control you. And, you know, growing up in that abrasive world, part of it was defending, because we also grew up in an environment that felt a little bit like a war zone. There was outward prostitution. You could hear gunshots in the middle of the day. Like, we were so immune to it that we weren't running for our lives. It was just like, oh, just tuck in here, or like hide behind the car. Like, think about how sad that is. And I'm here on this microphone telling you, fighting some of my social activist friends who want to, when I post an article, crime is going up. Oh, that's just a GOP political tactic to scare people. And okay, you know, everything is used for politics. So I can even give you that as a potential. But when I say something like that, I don't say it to you because I fucking read it in an article. I'm saying it because I'm seeing it. I'm experiencing it because I'm hearing stories. People are getting attacked and mugged on the trains here because people are witnessing that there are more people on the trains that don't seem like they're mentally stable. So it's coming from direct conversation from people in the streets. So, but it's so easy for people to point fingers, and guess what's not going to happen, community members? I'm not going to be swayed by something like, oh, you know, back in the day, I thought that you were such a sweet girl. To me, that's you speaking ill on my name. Because what are you trying to say about the person you're perceiving right now? Or like another one that I heard, oh, I wonder who, you know, she must be a Trump fan. I was like, why are you saying that I'm a Trump fan? Why are you making assumptions? This person came back and says, no, I'm deducing this from what you're writing. I had to laugh. Like, some of it just makes me laugh, right? But nothing inflamed the community more. If I didn't realize the meme post inflamed the community, where I even had, I'm not going to mention his name now, but somebody who's a famous Black Hollywood producer, screenwriter, blast me on my page for my mask meme. This is when you realize that people are actually paying attention to Ruthie's point. So Goya, I don't know if you saw that press conference, right? I
did.
And I was watching it actually in real time. And when I was seeing it, like, I'm not stupid. Like, I'm seeing the Hispanic prosperity. I forgot how it was put. But what struck me and to why I tuned into this broadcast is because I don't remember ever seeing the word prosperity in connection to Hispanic and in the White House. That's just me. I could be wrong. We could look at it. I like that word, prosperity. I love the idea of prosperity.
Do you know what prosperity means?
Share, Ruthie Guten.
Okay, this is what I was taught, and I believe it 100%. When you've got 100% total prosperity, you have health, you have wealth, you have positive and wonderful relationships, including the relationship with spirit, with God, whatever you wish to call consciousness, whatever you wish to call our creator, right? And you have enough time to be able to enjoy all of the above. That is 100% total prosperity. That was defined to us by Dr. Gary Berman, and I believe that that's genius.
See, so my instincts were right about why I tuned in. I really loved this framing, and I was like, and I'm not stupid. I'm like, look, what happens when a lot of people, if I had a company and I got invited to the White House, I'm going to go. I don't care who's president. I don't care if I don't like the president. I would go. Why? Because it's an opportunity to create a bridge. And in this world, we have to work with people we don't like all of the time.
And also because you respect the office of the presidency. Because you respect the Constitution of our United States. And you respect what our form of government is based upon. It's not the person, it's the office.
So he got in trouble for calling Donald Trump a builder and for saying, I mean, he complimented the president. So people are looking at it as a political endorsement. And all of a sudden, you have people like Congresswoman AOC and the Rep Gutierrez calling out, like doing a video in front of his pantry filled with Goya beans, and calling out Goya for their shameful history with Puerto Rico and etc. So this is what I wrote, right? And then I'll get into my reasoning. So I posted an article from the New York Times that says Goya Foods boycott takes off after its president praises Trump. So I wrote, another example of cancel culture, outrage, and programming and Trump derangement syndrome. I would prefer we boycott to raise awareness for healthier ingredients, but instead we are boycotting Goya because he complimented the president. We truly live in an upside-down world. If we lose more Latino companies, we all lose. This impacts our communities directly. Look at the bigger chess play here. This, as of now, has gotten 92 comments, which is big for Facebook interaction anywhere when you don't have the algorithm working in your favor. And, you know, people brought up good points like the history, like certain things that were messed up, or it's not even healthy food. They've had an opportunity to really up their ingredients. And I'm like, I understand that. But none of you are convincing me that this outrage right now today is not because of Trump, and it's not has nothing to do with cancel culture. Because if you were upset or you've been upset with Goya's movement, why not protest in other times? And we still want to talk about something that happened maybe hundreds of years ago, bring it into the present moment. But in the present moment, we have to move with present moment times. And right now, think about it. The boycott was throw out, not to stop buying Goya, because that was just a given, but to throw out your present Goya products. Do you know how ridiculously stupid that is? Do you know how stupid that is when we're in the middle of I don't care who this offends. Do you know how stupid that is to suggest that when we're in the middle of a pandemic, I'm trying to buy more Goya. I barely eat Goya. I'm trying to make sure I have Goya products because guess what? We may be unfortunately going into pandemic 2.0 lockdown, which I pray it doesn't happen. And you need to invest in products that are going to take you a while. And not everyone has the money to buy or these bulk items or like food supplies that last for 30 years. People are going to hit up the bodegas, for example, and get the rice and some Goya cans because it will last them. So tell me who your friends are. Right? You look at me or us and you shoot us down like we're your enemy and you get so emotional about it, but you will never blame the media and you never take accountability and you don't even look at the programming that's happening here. Like, I'm not against you. I'm still upset with Goya when Goya pulled out of supporting the Puerto Rican Day Parade because they were not in support of who were one of the people that were being venerated or like I forget the word. It wasn't like they were venerating him. They were giving him like a honor in the parade. And Goya didn't like that. It didn't go with their branding, so they pulled out. And it hurt the Puerto Rican Day Parade to lose their sponsorship at the freaking last minute. You see? So there's a part of me that feels like, oh, well, you know what? They're getting canceled because they went after us or they succumbed to pressure back then, and now, it comes to eat itself. I'm not stupid, but where was all the protesting that didn't happen back then? So this is my point. I'm not defending Goya as a company. in its perfection. What I'm saying is that they do employ a lot of Latinos. They do give up a lot. They do give out a lot of scholarships. They do help a lot of people. And when you and in your mouthpieces, especially the leadership, when you're yelling at the community, you do not speak for all the Latinos, and you do not speak for all the people in Puerto Rico. So how dare you? You're going out, and you know what that proves? It proves your privilege. It proves privilege that you can go out there and you tell people to throw food away. That proves privilege to me.
Think about it this way. A lot of people that are saying, go throw that food away, are also saying, oh, we need to save the environment. So how does that make sense? At least if you don't want to use the products, donate it to a food pantry. Donate it to people that have no food. We need to use our logic.
Yeah. We need to use
Breathe.
our logic.
Take a deep breath, my dear.
I'm taking a deep
Take
breath.
a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Such a deep breath. Here's the thing. I'm not going to stop posting, and I'm going to continue expressing myself. We at Cafecito Break are an independent platform. Ruthie, myself, and Alex were independent businesswomen, and that affords us the right and the prosperity to speak up. Unfortunately, many of our brothers and sisters who feel as we do, not entirely, not that they have to see it the way we do, but that they just have an opinion that they want to express. Just for following the wrong person. Some people have lost their jobs for advocating their allegiance to something, or not even allegiance, just having a preference for wearing the wrong thing. People are losing, just like, what is the value here of human beings? Like, how are we valuing each other? We're not valuing one another. We're not respecting one another. We're not being compassionate to one another's stories. What I see is people just trying to outdo each other, and extremism doesn't work on either end. And I know that there are groups that are traumatized and they would like to be vindicated, but that doesn't happen by squashing somebody else down. Because when I'm reading,
bully syndrome.
It's bully. Like when I'm reading about, I posted another article that triggered some community members about this training that's happening in Seattle for, like, I forget what it's called. But pretty much it's a training for white people. So you can know your place in this society and to address your inherent racism.
You know, I actually watched I think she's a psychologist, a PhD psychologist, or, she did a test on somebody. And if I mention the name of the person she was testing, it's going to trigger a bunch of people. But she actually, I'm ready to trigger people. She actually did an interview with Glenn Beck, and she did a test that is being used to determine whether you possess white privilege, right? And if you go through all of the questions on this test, there's no way that you're not going to be labeled as having white privilege. There's just no way. I mean, it's designed on purpose, and the questions are designed on purpose to make it a positive outcome. There's no way that you can take that test and not be quote unquote white privilege. The way our society is and the way we have lived in this country. And, it's just a lot of things are set up on purpose. So I just urge everybody to listen to each other with your heart, with compassion. We have 2 ears and we have 1 mouth. What does that tell you? We don't need to respond to everything. We can listen with our hearts. And if we disagree, we can bless them and move on. Or voice opinions respectfully. I mean, come on. We've got to do better than this.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, yeah, and I was trying to just find the article that I posted because I did read some of the examples and some of the questions, and if you were to put me in a training like that, I would probably get canceled by everyone in that room, because part of it is like, it feels like psychological trickery, right? So it's, and no matter what you say and how you say it, it's might not be perceived correctly. And my thing is that how can people who are not fully integrated be educating people on how and to speak, or be calling out whether or not you have inherent racism? And you know, something that I'm sort of getting old for me, that I hear a lot in the community, and I can see it to the point where they're like, well, listen, you know, we've been wounded for so long, but this is what I don't agree with. So now it's their turn. I have, to me, that's very problematic, that thinking. You could think it because you have the right to think whatever you want, but I find that problematic because it doesn't, if you're subjecting any group of people and you're just even sectioning them off by color, how have we evolved as a society when we know that people who have suffered that in the past, that hasn't been anything that came out that was great from it? Why are we doing it? Why are we so okay by saying, yeah, like all of a sudden white people are all devils? Like, it's beyond color. There are people from all races that are create and do great harm unto humanity. This is just like, you know, it's just those little details. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, because we could be here forever and we're just going to keep on sharing. But one thing that I want to also share is that I did the interview yesterday with Special Forces Army veteran JP, who felt so moved by the horrific passing of Vanessa Guillen that he, you know, looked into himself. He even visited the site where her remains were located. This was such a difficult interview for me to do or have a discussion. I couldn't even really, and I had the information right in front of me, Ruthie. I couldn't even like speak. Like, I lost my ability to speak, and something happened during that interview that was really fascinating to me. Is I started speaking about the case. I felt like a presence was with me, and I wonder, you know, I obviously I can't confirm what it was, but I feel like whatever the presence that was there with me, it helped me. It made me feel very emotional. I feel very compassionate about this young lady, and I feel so compassionate for her family, and I'm sending them so much love and so much light. And it was really difficult doing this interview. So if you listen to it, I'm going to post it up on the podcast feeds. Please just kind of make space for me in that way, where there were some times that I didn't even know what to say, because it's really difficult to say something to someone, and as a story, oh, look at what I read the story, blah 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 blah, and you a little bit disassociated from it. But when we come to the Cafecito table here, we come here 100% fully present, and it was really difficult for me. And I just want, and I want to ask Ruthie if we could sort of, like, as we wind down the show, move into that prayerful state, that we can send some light and love and prayer to Vanessa Guillen's life. May she make a beautiful transition into the light. May she be held by the angels and all the great benevolence, and may we know how to honor her and here in this carnal state, and also hopefully through these investigations that are coming up, may this help stop any of this from continuing to happen to anybody else.
And I'm going to ask you also to take a deep breath and close your eyes and visualize this amazing, amazing soul that went through such a horrible, horrible torture. Visualize the soul of this person with you and with me and with whoever's listening inside this dark tunnel. And then visualize us walking, hugging her, surrounded by angels, surrounded by the presence of God, walking with her all the way to the edge of the tunnel until we see that white light open. And then as we see that opening, just bless her life. Send healing to her family, send healing to her. And watch as all of her loved ones on the other side wait for her. And then let's visualize her floating out into the light and being greeted by all of her loved ones on the other side. And now we close that door to the tunnel and come back. How do you feel?
I feel like I imagined her smiling. And
may her family have comfort. May her family have comfort.
yes.
I can't imagine. And I'm sorry I was unable to be participating with you in that interview, but thank you for doing it. I know that it was very challenging, very difficult.
Oh, well, I really appreciate, it gives me perspective. I mean, the person who was helping me with the conversation, I mean, he's been out there in, doing special operations. Who knows what kind of operations he's been engaged in the past. And he lost sleep over this. This is something that happened, in the same state that you and him live in. And, and it's amazing. I think that us human beings, we have the ability to just tune into that beautiful kindness and compassion. And I really feel like him wanting to share what he discovered and how he felt when he visited where her remains were found. I feel like, and I pray that hopefully we added to some of the healing energy and current for this woman's life, and that, we needed to speak on it because many people have been so dissatisfied with the way this has been covered in the media, and which has left more questions. And so I'm grateful for that discussion, as difficult as it was to have. And
I look forward to hearing it. I thank you for doing it.
Thank you, Ruthie. And Ruthie, thank you so much. I think I've said enough today. So
I've got one thing to share, and then in closing. So this was posted by somebody that I followed by the tag of Kabamor Taigeta, and I resonated with it. So I'm going to read this. Beloved friends, these are moments to realize the power you have in creating your story. Perception and belief will become your reality. Intentional thoughts added to the belief will create form from the formless. The planet as you know it to be is now undergoing radical transformation, and you that read these words are co-creating all that you observe. Indeed, this should bring great joy, for you are never stuck in one choice or outcome. If you do not like the place where you stand, move. You are not a tree. Indeed, we love to laugh. As the foundation upon which you have built your life story seems to be crumbling beneath you, realize it is moving continually. Nothing remains the same, and with this knowing, you are blessed indeed. This is the nature of the process. For the planet has such a momentum of acceleration now that you might lift off at the next step. Use your thoughts and mind in the most positive way possible. You need one another for the process of the shift. Find unity in nature. Find unity that you are here together, Now for the Great Awakening. Find unity that you have survived 100% of your perceived worst moments, and you're still here. All of you, reading or hearing this, have great purpose, and the source of all life holds you gently in a field of high vibrational frequency. Only the clarity and unification as one will bring on the massive shift. It does matter that you stop judging another. You are judging yourself. Laws matter. Goodness matters. Intention matters. But you cannot change another. You can change only yourself. Then the effect is like a ripple that moves and touches another. What you send out into the ethers will return to you. Choose wisely and in love. The power and love are here now. You are this. Love one another. Akachu. And then it says, find the thread of compassion and let no man cause the suffering of another. Soon we rise as one. En eke mai ea. I love you so.
That was beautiful. I love you, Ruthie Gutin.
I love you, Rosangel Prince.
Thank you.
And, we started this morning again with a tough weekend. And it was like, I'm feeling really bad this morning. Should we even do the show?
Yeah.
And we always do this. This is magic.
This is magic. I was energetically so drained this past week, and most of it was just the energetic debris that I was receiving. Like, some people can really feel that. And that's what's so hurtful about trying to, and this is why I know whether community members are like, maybe you should stop. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I think what we do is worth it. And I just appreciate that you're in my life, that you've been in my life all of these years, and that we keep learning from each other. And I always look forward to Monday mornings because I'm always trying to, like, what is Ruthie going to have up her sleeve this Monday morning? It's like, it's exciting to me. Like, I love to learn new things. And it's harder to learn things when somebody's screaming at them, at you. So hopefully from here on, we'll start making better tasting recipes.
Hey, I've been making some pretty darn good recipes. I'll tell you that. Ask Gushin.
I believe you. Bueno, mi gente. Thank you for tuning in.